Thomas Jefferson once said that we in America do not have a government by majority, but a government by those who participate. One key element of participation is exercising the right to vote on Election Day. These local, state, and federal elections are massive undertakings that take coordination between the Secretary of State and the towns. Joining us today is Laurie, Brangi, and Patricia Jackson, the Republican and Democratic Registrar of Voters for the town of North Haven. The Municipal Voice is the Connecticut Conference of the Municipalities podcast in collaboration with WNHH LP 103.5 FM. I'm your host, Matt Ford. As always, be sure to give us a like and let us know what you're thinking in the comments. CCM's Municipal Voice podcast continues to present a key forum on important state-local issues. The views expressed do not necessarily reflect the consensus views of CCM or municipal leaders. Thanks, guys. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having us.
Could you introduce yourselves again just for everyone at home?
Sure. Laurie, Brangi, I'm the Republican Registrar of Voters in North Haven.
Patty Jackson Marshall, I'm Democratic Registrar of Voters in North Haven.
Well, thanks for being here. Usually in the Municipal Voice, we like to start at the beginning with a description of what it is that you do and who you represent. So we just had an election, which is the end result of a lot of what you do. What does Election Day look like for you as the registrars of voters? Are you, run around from poll to poll, polling center? Are you, by the time Election Day comes, has all your work already been done? Theoretically, we'll start over here.
Oh, I was going to say she's got something written. No, our job does not end on Election Day.
Okay.
It actually is just beginning, really. Mm-hmm. As it relates to running from poll to poll, no. Typically, we are focused on in the office. Mm-hmm. We're really kind of... So we have 6 polling places mm-hmm. in North Haven. So our moderators, when they have issues, we're their first mm-hmm. place to go.
Okay.
But I will say this. So when they come in with questions, when there are issues that run on mm-hmm. Election Day, we get our guidance, though, from the state.
Okay.
So
the people that come to you, are they volunteers generally? Is that who's running the individual locations? How does that work?
We hire them.
Okay.
We hire people.
They're paid.
Okay, so
oh yeah.
So there's paid one at each location, and if something goes wrong, you're the person they call. You two are who they call. Say something's going on, and then you two either can answer that question, or if it's something,
troubleshoot to the best of our ability,
or you might need to go up.
Correct.
The next state,
we troubleshoot. We call the Secretary of State if we need
mm-hmm.
further guidance. If we need to, we go visit the district.
Mm-hmm.
So, and a lot of times it's small things that can take
mm-hmm.
care of itself. We're the first person they call. We should be, unless it's an emergency, and then they would call, of course, 911.
But
election problems, not bigger problems
are our
at
forte.
Election sites. Yeah.
But a lot of our day-to-day on Election Day is Election Day registration because we are considered a mid-sized town.
Mm-hmm.
We're not a city like New Haven or Waterbury or a lot of what we do is run the Election
mm-hmm.
Day registration with other, we hire other people to
mm-hmm.
help us with that task, but a good chunk of it falls on our shoulders as well.
Okay. So before you get to that point, you have to maintain the voter registry.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of work goes into that? Can you tell us a little bit about the voter registry and kind of how that all plays out?
Voter registration takes place online. It takes place in person,
mm-hmm.
and maintaining it is just entering it into the state system.
Mm-hmm.
But that's day to day.
That's every day.
It's every day.
Yeah.
There's new stuff.
Not just an election year, just kind of ongoing.
No, we remove
day.
people,
mm-hmm.
that have passed away, things like that.
Okay.
Day to day.
Or moved away.
You said they can do it online. Is that through the town's web? Like where do people go to do that? It's through the state website.
Through the state or through DMV.
It's DMV based.
Okay. So if someone wanted to do that online, they would go to the DMV's website and
go
search
to the Secretary of State's website.
Or the Secretary of State's website. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Another issue that pops up sometimes is absentee ballots. It's been an issue that keeps popping up, and it's your job to maintain those ballots. What does it look like to you? Do you have a list? Are you checking it twice? Do you cross-reference each other's work? Because there's 2 of you. So, how does that dynamic work?
Basically, everything we do together.
Mm-hmm.
We don't, go out on our own on any of this. And that's state mandated.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, the absentee ballots are actually the beginning of that process
mm-hmm.
is with the town clerk's office.
Mm-hmm.
So on election day, they give them over to us, hand them over to us, and they sign affidavits that they are what they are, and
Mm-hmm.
there's this many and that many, and we take them, and then our absentee staff counts them and tallies them on election day at the end of the day, and after that, everything is locked up and sealed up and put into bags. So,
Also by state mandate.
yes,
Correct.
Okay, so you said that
absolutely.
the structure, the way you guys handle it is by state. Can you talk a little bit about like just how that's set up in Connecticut for state registrars? What are the mandates? Like what's kind of the structure
of
registrars of voters? Like, you say there's the mandates. So how does that? Every town has two registrars,
Mhm.
Right.
a Republican and a Democrat, and
Correct.
that's part of the rules.
Correct.
Now I know you said you guys are full time. Are all towns full
No,
time?
We're
we're not.
part time.
Oh, you're part time.
We are part time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, good to know. Are there full time registrars?
Oh, there's a lot of
so like bigger
cities.
cities might have.
big cities.
Okay.
Waterbury. I'm gonna say New Haven's probably a full time position.
Mm-hmm.
I know Norwalk is.
Yeah.
That's where I'm originally from.
Waterbury.
Well, I said Waterbury.
Oh.
Hartford is
Mhm.
full time.
Okay, but so you're part time, but you're permanent, so it's not a temporary.
We're elected.
We're elected. Okay.
We're elected. Yes.
So people vote for the registrar of voters.
Yeah.
Correct.
And they you both up in
Next
the
year.
Next year.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So are you guys in charge of counting your own votes?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Well, not really.
Well, not really, because you're checking
Because
each
we
other's
have
work. And there's
yes,
like
we check each other, but we have a
Yeah.
staff who counts.
Okay.
So yes, but the rules and
But there are rules set up for that exact
Sure.
reason. I'm
that
sure,
say
right?
that we are allowed to conduct and do our job as registrars, even if we are on the ballot.
Okay.
So
We're basically the town committees, the
Mhm.
Democratic and the Republican town committees select someone to be the registrar, or
Mhm.
appoint someone, and then they run for elective office. And the elective office happens. Is it every 2 years? Seems like it's
yes,
Mhm.
we're every 2 years.
every 2 years.
But just to interject on that, there are some towns and cities that
Mhm.
are 4 years. We
If-
don't know.
Well, we
I
have
don't remember the
169
exact
towns. There's a lot
ruling.
of history and stuff
But
in
some
different towns.
some
yeah.
towns and cities are 4, and we just happen to be 2.
Okay. But so the town committees
Well, they select somebody
select
or
somebody
ask
and-
someone to go for this, and then
Mhm.
you're elected. But honestly, if Laurie's husband votes for her and my husband votes for me,
Yeah.
we're good.
We maintain our jobs
If there's not
because there's nobody opposing us.
yeah. Now theoretically could like an
Yes.
independent run for registrar Okay.
Mhm.
if they
And
wanted
and
to
there
and
have
put the
been
money
towns that we know of where long-standing registrars, their jobs were in jeopardy, and there was a primary, and it can happen.
in. Yeah.
Primaries can happen for our job.
Okay. So in
We just
North
don't see it
Haven,
in North Haven.
in North Haven, everyone seems pretty happy with the work you guys are doing. There's no controversy around it.
No,
We hope.
we hope.
Right. But it could happen where
Yes,
for whatever
it
reason
has happened.
someone
Yes.
either really thinks that they'd be better at it or thinks
Correct.
that whoever's doing it is doing it wrong and could run theoretically as an independent for that
Well,
office. Oh,
I
okay.
think they'd have to run with a party.
Would they?
They'd have to run against us as a party.
Yes.
It'd have
Oh.
to be a recognized party.
So it could
Because I
it
think
could
the
be
only-
a third party, but they would have to have a party that had.
No, I think it would be a Republican or a Democrat would have to say, no, I want that position,
Mhm.
and gather signatures, get a petition,
Petition would be the way they would go about
and
that.
then force a primary.
Wow, that would be some drama.
I think
don't
the
know.
only
Yeah.
town or the only city that has
Had-
3
Had a working family. Hartford,
was Hartford.
that I can recall.
Yeah. So there's nothing necessarily in the future preventing it from happening, but it's not a common scenario in Connecticut. Gotcha. So the Registrar of Voter Association of Connecticut, or ROVAC,
Mm-hmm.
says that the HAVA and HIPAA bills have increased the workload for registrars. What do you think of that? Is that something that you've encountered?
Our workload really hasn't changed because we both came in. It was 2002 that
Mhm.
was enacted. Our workload, because we came in and it was already in
So that
process.
was already there.
Yeah. It was
Could
already in
you-
place.
So for the people at home, how would the HAVA and HIPAA stuff affect the Registrar of Voters? Like what's the connection there?
Well, there was changes in what they required for voting equipment.
Okay.
accessibility to voting equipment.
Okay, so it's the HIPAA thing is accessibility for.
Well, part of it is.
Okay.
It's making it more manageable and easier to register to vote. Voter rights were included in it. So it may have increased the amount of people who had access to registering to vote, which then increased the workload. But we weren't really privy
you
to
came
that.
into the workload
and it was
as
already
it exists now.
established, and so therefore it's always been part of our day-to-day and part of our day-to-day getting ready for an election and gearing up for an election. So we haven't really noticed a change because it's always been a part of what we've done.
And considering that it all went off where you had an election, it seems like you guys are handling that. So it's manageable at least. But that's interesting, the HIPAA thing, because we read that when we were looking into registrars and what they do, and I'm like, HIPAA, how does the healthcare, but accessibility issues.
Issues.
So as registrars of voters, you have a charge to schedule and conduct voter registration sessions. This is a big discussion around Election Day and causes issues in some cities and states. We have a couple different ways to register. You said online, in person. Who is eligible to vote?
In North Haven?
Yeah.
U.S. citizens, 18 years of age, and town resident.
And that's it?
They have to be a town resident.
They have to be a town resident.
Yes.
For North Haven.
For North Haven. That's a similar requirement, so it sounds like there should be a lot of people doing that, right?
Yes, but there's still a lot of people who don't.
Yeah. we should encourage them all to do so, right? Let's see. We talked a little bit about same-day voter registration before. It's a question a lot of viewers might have. For instance, once you register to vote, are you always registered to vote?
Yes. We can't remove you.
Okay.
And this is interesting, especially with an election that just happened 2 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago, whatever it's been at this point, because Patty, you fielded a phone call yesterday from a gentleman who thought that he had been removed.
Okay.
But even if somebody walks in, let's say mom walks in and her son's now living out in California and tells somebody at the poll, a poll worker that my son's been living in California for the last 5 years, he should be removed. We can make a note of that. But unless we have something physically in writing, we're not, it's against the law for us to just remove somebody from our active registry. But what that prompts Patty and I to do is to say, okay, we'll jot down his name and we will send a letter when we do what's called our annual canvass.
Okay.
And we'll ask the question, have you moved out of town?
Hey, are you still there?
And they have the right at that point to write back to us and ask to be removed.
Okay. So, but if you don't get a response, you don't get to assume that that means they're not there. They have to write back and say, yes, I have moved. Please take me off.
Correct. And sign it.
Okay. And sign it.
Yes.
And we use obituaries. And we use, and the DMV provides us with people who have moved out of town.
Okay.
And
now,
provides
with the DMV thing, they've done the official change of address with their license.
That is a list that comes through on our system, the Connecticut voter registration system.
Yeah.
And they send us a daily list of people who have moved out of town and registered in a new town, and that gives us permission to remove them. Yeah.
Now, the daily list, is that just for North Haven residents that they give you, or do they give you the whole list and you have to go through it?
No, it's just our list, just North Haven.
So
it happens town to town.
So you don't get a list of how many people are moving in and out of Connecticut every day. That would be an interesting factoid for me personally.
That I don't know.
Mostly it's moving within Connecticut.
All right. Yeah, people moving across, buying a new house, that sort of thing.
But that type of a list that you're looking for, that might be something that the state can provide.
So that would be a little factoid. I don't know if it relates to this discussion necessarily, but
I don't know.
It's interesting stuff. So if the DMV sends you the list and says they did move, does that constitute the officialness, or do you still need to send them the thing?
No.
Okay, so they wrote the state government, the DMV, and said, I have moved, give me my new license, and that counts as them.
The list actually comes from the Secretary of State's office through the DMV, and they work together to provide this.
Got it.
Yeah.
But the person went to the DMV and said something official, and they signed something there that said,
or
I'm moving.
And we still send them a letter.
Or they registered their car.
And we remove them, but because now we have proof from DMV that you've moved.
Yeah.
And every once in a while, we get somebody who says, no, that really wasn't me. I know.
Every once in a while.
Now, you said you
No.
look at obituaries. What's the process there? Is it you need something from the court or the
No.
coroner?
Oh,
This
no,
is
we
like
look
a-
in the paper,
We look in the New
the
Haven.
New Haven Register,
Okay.
every morning,
Okay.
and we look to see if anybody, unfortunately, has passed.
Mm-hmm.
We look them up to see if they're a voter. And then we
But
can
in
remove
the
them.
case of that, you can say they have passed. You don't need to get permission.
Well,
from...
the obituary is proof.
Okay.
The obituary is.
You don't need to
the
get like the
state
next of
deems
kin
that
to
as
sign
proof.
off and
No.
say yes, they have died.
No.
That would seem a little bit like a call someone didn't necessarily want to
We
get.
get people who do call us, which is we're grateful
To
for
let
that
you-
because sometimes you don't post an obituary, but other than that, we wouldn't remove them.
Yeah.
Lots and lots of different little issues, minutia that are related. So there's no way for someone just accidentally become unregistered. It's not going to get lost. It's not going to
No.
just carry out. Oh, you haven't voted in 10 years. You're done. You're on that list.
We do a canvass every year,
Mhm.
and if we've sent out letters requesting that they return them, and if they don't return them after 30 days, we put them into an inactive file,
Mhm.
and there's various reasons for doing that. And after 4 years in the inactive file, if they haven't responded, come in,
Mhm.
voted, tried to get out of the inactive file, the state puts them in the off
Okay.
file, and we are putting them in off where I guess they stay there for another year,
Mhm.
and then they're removed, they're purged.
So
So
5 years, you've gotten letters, you haven't voted at all, you've ignored everything,
or they've moved away and
or they've moved away.
they just can't respond.
And they just don't respond. Yeah.
But if that person then shows up on election day to your office to say, I want to re-register.
They can be restored if they're
Yeah.
still in the inactive file. They can
Hmm.
be restored to vote. They fill out a new card with their
Mhm.
new information, and they're restored, and they can vote that day. If they're in the off file, they'll just fill out a new form. They'd have to
Mhm.
come into the EDR location, and
The EDR, what does EDR stand for?
Election day registration.
Election day registration.
Yeah.
And you have the location. Where would that be in North Haven?
It's in our town hall.
It's in Town Hall.
Yeah.
we have to have access to our computers.
That's where the systems are.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because you set up all around voting polling places in schools in North Haven. Where are people going?
Yes, our polling places are located in the elementary schools and then at our rec center
In the gyms.
in the gyms.
All right, yeah, so pretty standard setup. I remember going
Yeah.
to plenty of locations like that. Some people out there are pushing for automatic voter registration, whereby all voters would just be automatically registered to vote. How would that affect your job of preparing registration, and do you think it would have a meaningful impact on election day for registrars around the state? Automatic. What's pros and cons?
Well, I mean, as I started to say before, I don't think everybody wants to be registered, and and I don't think it's necessarily because they don't want to exercise their right to vote.
Mhm.
There are some people who associate our office with, I get put on a list, that list gets disseminated across the state for jury duty.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a lot of people who want to be removed because they don't want to be called for jury duty.
Huh. And that's one of the things?
Yeah.
All right, tell me about this. Voter registration is where they find your name for jury duty?
Well,
It's one of the ways.
One of the ways.
DMV is also another
DMV
place.
is also. Okay. So.
But it's the one that gets talked about the most because that's what the word is, that if you're on a voter list, you're on the jury list. So we get a lot of calls about removing, if they've moved away and they haven't bothered to tell us for years and years, that's the call we'll get. Whereas, I just got a jury notice and I haven't lived in North Haven for 14 years or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that is a problem for, I guess, our reputation that we have them on the list. But
they also get it from the DMV, from the
Oh,
license.
yeah,
so
they get it
if,
from
so
other
if you have a
places.
driver's license and you're driving,
You could
you're
also
on that
be
list
put on
anyway.
a list.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
We're all on the list somewhere.
yes.
Right? Yeah.
And I think, too, because it's a public information, if you register to vote, it's public. Your information is public for the most part. That concerns most people in this technology age. So, yeah.
So that's people's concerns, but as you say, it's not really, there's not a lot necessarily founding that because their names are on the other stuff anyway. So beyond people's fears, what do you think? Automatic? Would it cause you guys headaches? Would it complicate elections? Or would it just be a change
I
that
think
you would
there
deal
would be
with?
a lot of duplication.
Could be.
And that might be a problem. Duplication of voters because they're already in the system and now we have another card for them. And
Yeah.
I'm sure that it would not be put in place until some of the kinks had worked out. But
Yeah.
Yeah, because in speaking about duplication, well, not necessarily duplication, but with the new online system through DMV, so when you go to DMV, they offer you the option to register to vote.
Yep.
And a lot of people, and it's just because they don't realize that once you're registered to vote, you're always registered to vote. So they will fill out that card again online, and it gets submitted to us. And so really what it does is it just makes more busy work for us.
Okay.
Because there are people who have stacks of cards because, I went to DMV, and so now I have to register to vote again. And
They think,
so
they think it's like if you get a new license, you got to re-register. It's just part of the
correct.
thing. Okay. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I always went to AAA, although I think they're not doing that right now.
they aren't.
Connecticut. Oh, I've been told I need to let everyone at home know that you are listening to the Municipal Voice and WNHH LP 103.5 FM, broadcasting live from downtown New Haven. We are streaming live on TuneIn Radio and newhavenindependent.org. We are also streaming live video on Facebook Live. Just go to facebook.com/newhavenindependent or check out the CCM Facebook page. All right. So we've talked, about people registering, whatever, but on the kind of physical, real world level, you guys are responsible for voting machines. Is that right? You oversee the voting machines?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So some viewers and listeners might be old enough to remember, like in Florida, the hanging chads thing. There's been fears of digital machines being hacked. What equipment do you guys use in North Haven? What's kind of being used across the state? And I don't know where. What are your thoughts on the security of the machines and that sort of thing?
The entire state uses tabulators.
Tabulators.
That
Okay.
were approved by the Secretary of State.
Okay. So that's another one of those things that falls under the state rules and regulations. That
Yes.
Okay. And tabulators. What are the tabulators? Are the ones that I'm assuming that I was using where I fill in the circle.
Mhm.
Yes,
I
there are
bring it
no
over.
chads.
There's no chads to hang.
No. Everybody in the state of Connecticut
We're
uses a paper
chat-free.
ballot.
Okay.
We use a paper ballot that's read by a tabulator. We were talking
Okay.
about it this morning. They're I don't want to use the word, but you used it this morning, so it's in my head. It's like a cash register because it tabulates. It literally
Just add stuff.
it
up.
adds stuff.
It's like the SATs. When you took them, I took them many years ago. When you take those, they used to bubble in with, and you had to use a certain kind of pencil. This you have to-
Number 2.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And this, you have to use a black or blue pen, and you have to color in the bubble. And
Yeah, and I colored
reads
in,
it.
but you can't just put in abacadabra the whole way down and get at least a 70 on the test, right?
No.
No.
Okay. A, B.
And then it gets run and pushed through a tabulator.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a memory card. That does all the calculations. There's a card.
Card.
Yes.
Okay, so it's not hooked up to the internet.
No.
So there's no
No.
hackers sneaking into Connecticut's machines to change stuff
No.
around.
There's a memory card inside the tabulator that does
Each physical machine
has its own,
Locked
gets-
in.
and they're locked
It's
in.
locked in. The poll workers can't get to it
No.
on their own.
No.
Voters can't get to it.
No.
Spies can't get to it.
No.
Whoever we're worried about. So they're locked up.
The tabulator produces an election results tape at the end of the night,
Mhm.
and that has it's like a cash register tape.
Yeah.
It's you can read each office is listed and the number of votes gained in that district.
Okay. And if something failed, the tabulator broke, the card doesn't work,
We have
it
that.
has
We have backups.
it has the hard copies in the machine. So if you had to, you could count them by hand or something
Well, there's
else.
different procedures for
Yeah,
that.
what other procedures?
Well,
We would start with a backup machine
Okay.
that has a new. So there'd be a new machine
Okay, so the
with a
machine
new
broke.
memory card.
And you say, oh, this one's broken. It's not letting it go. You open it up and you take those out and you rerun them through
A new
one that
machine.
is working. That'll
Mhm.
count those and you say, okay, that
I've
one's
done that.
broken.
it might be
These
at
are-
the end of the night. It
Yeah.
might be if there's several hundred, maybe you could do it on the side. And while
Mhm.
people put it, there's an auxiliary sleeve that they can put them into the ballot box that they can put their ballots in, and they will be counted at the end
So
of the night.
I showed up to vote and I got my half-hour window before I have to go to work. I get to the thing and the machine's not working. I'm not done. It's just I put it in the side thing and it gets
Auxiliary.
run through the auxiliary.
And it gets explained to you
Mhm.
by the people running our district. It gets
Mhm.
explained that your vote is going to count and
Yeah.
it will get run through the machine. And
Yeah.
whatever the technical issue is at the time. But
Yeah.
we've
And is
had
that
it
something-
happen.
It happens
Yeah.
not often, but it
Not
is-
often.
It is a thing, and you have procedures
No,
in
We
place.
had a belt break
A belt. Oh,
because there's like a timing
there's
belt
machinery
inside.
that actually
Yeah,
goes zip and draws it in, and
correct. And it broke, and it did it at 7:30 at night.
Mhm.
And myself and Patty's deputy went over to a district,
Mhm.
and we had to rerun the entire district through the machine.
And how fast does the machine go through something like that?
Oh,
Because
It took us about
I
an
see it.
hour.
I see it happening
If
one at a
it's
time. Can
if
you
it's
say
over
or do you have to do them one at a time? Do you have to-
One at a time.
You have to hand feed it.
You hand feed it.
Wow. Okay, so that could be a lot of work. For you.
We got on a roll. Me and
Yeah.
her deputy were on a roll. It took us a little over an hour to
Mhm.
reprocess.
You kind of get the system going. And
We
someone
did.
looks at someone sticks in, and
It was but it's one at a time. It's literally feeding one piece of paper in at a time.
which is time consuming, but I'm guessing helps. Make sure that everyone's getting counted.
Well, that's easier
Like,
than
there's
hand counting.
It's still easier than
It's
hand.
still easier than
If
if
hand
you have a
counting.
lot of
The whole-
races, that's a long day.
Yeah. How many races were in North Haven in this last election?
17. We had
Wow.
a double-sided ballot. I think it was 17.
Okay,
Local.
I live in New Haven. Ours was pretty short. This last one.
Oh no, we had 17. It was a double-sided ballot.
We have boards and commissions.
Boards and commissions.
Boards and commissions.
Yeah.
And was it? How was the turnout in North Haven?
It was 33, 34%, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And where's that kind of fall for you guys?
Basic for a municipal.
Mhm.
It's unfortunately.
Yeah.
I mean, that's low, I think.
Well, I think what the public sees is that our first selectman ran
Mhm.
unopposed.
Yep.
And so therefore, if the town views it as Mike's doing a good job, I don't need to go out and vote.
Mhm.
But there are other positions and boards that are just as important, equally as important.
They're important, but maybe don't get the headlines, aren't as exciting.
Correct.
People don't get
Correct.
worked up. Speaking about exciting, people getting all fired up next year, presidential election. So we said, 33% for this year. What do you think in a presidential year? Where
So 2016, we had 86%.
86%?
Yeah.
For 2016, and you think you'll break that this time probably?
Uh-huh.
You're sensing that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're expecting a big turnout next year.
Hmm.
Yes.
What's North Haven doing to prepare
Well, we
for
started
this?
thinking about it on the 6th of November, the day after this last election.
We've
because-
already mentally started to go there,
Yeah.
as
because
crazy
we
as
have
it is.
presidential primaries
Yeah.
in April, on the 28th of April.
Yeah.
So I've already started thinking about that long ago because that nightmares happen because of primaries
So
sometimes.
you guys don't get to go on vacation after
No.
after
No.
the election and just
This
say,
year's not a
we'll
vacation
worry about
year."
that in six months or
Yeah.
something. It's
No.
all right. We did that. Let's get
It's
started.
daunting. The next year is daunting. We not only have that, we have local referenda.
Mhm.
And we may have another primary in August.
In
be-
August.
If something happens statewide, that there's a senatorial primary.
Okay.
Or something like that.
And so the one in August. When would you actually find out about something like that? Like how quickly do you have to turn something like that around?
Well, there's a deadline for, I guess, primarying
Yeah.
an incumbent, or it could be something like that. So we would know. The state would have a deadline. I'm going to guess July. We
Okay.
would know.
So you'd find out by July, but then by August you'd have to be ready to go.
Correct. It's August 10th, I believe.
It's the second Tuesday.
Second Tuesday in August.
Huh.
But we're not sure right now. So we have a holding pattern for that.
If something like that does happen, how does that affect your budget? How does that work?
Or our budgets, our fiscal year is July 1st. So
Mhm.
we just have to kind of plan in our head for it.
Like, do you just kind of account for we might have a special, so we need to
We've
leave some
always-
aside for that?
We
sort of thing?
always budget for at least 3 elections a year. Our
Okay.
budget is currently set up that way, because the unexpected can always happen.
And you'd rather,
and it doesn't
you'd rather
necess-
not need it.
Correct.
than
And it's
be scrambling to
sometimes
figure
it's
it
not
out,
a
yeah.
primary, but sometimes it's another referenda.
Mhm.
Which that's happened to us. So, I mean, we held a referendum 2 weeks before the presidential election in
Mhm.
2016.
And what was that all about?
Fire.
Yeah. No, police department.
Oh, police.
Oh, the police department. And
New
how
building.
how does that process work? The referenda, just enough people sign on? What's the process for making one of those happen?
Selectmen call for it. The
Yeah.
selectmen call for it. It's a town meeting.
Okay.
They vote on it, and it gets sent to us that they're going to do this. wouldn't have been our choice.
Mhm.
October 25th, before the 2016 election, it wouldn't have been but this is our job, and that's what we do.
And then
Alright.
once again, we had to get special instructions from the state because typically after any election event,
Mhm.
your machines go on lockdown for 14 days. Well, 14 days was the day of the presidential election.
Oh,
We had to
okay.
get special
So we had
instructions
to get
about
it, yeah.
That we want to have a
tabulators.
referendum, and then because it's election day, you
Correct. So
Wait.
the day after we held a referendum, we had permission from the state to unlock those machines and go in and then test and get ready for
kind of
Put new
reset
memory
them all.
cards in. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, so they
we
get
have separate memory cards for that.
okay. New memory card. Tell me about this. So in the machines they get replaced. It's not just
Yes.
you don't just hit delete and start again or reset the
We
counter.
have special memory cards for
Each-
referendum.
It
and
gets its
then-
own card, and that's like is that saved somewhere, like as part of the permanent record?
Well,
or
those
something,
cards
or?
are they're programmed to
Mhm.
just read yes no questions
Mhm.
for the
um,
referendum.
for the referendum.
Mhm.
But cards for presidential elections,
Uh-huh.
primaries, municipal,
election.
Yeah.
those are all programmed through an outside company. We
Mhm.
send our to be programmed.
Mhm.
So there's totally separate cards.
To be so
They
it
get
has to
programmed
know
for
that
the-
it's
for the
only
ballot.
asking
It's only
this question on this one, and on this one it's got this person,
People,
this person,
correct.
and this person, and that process is done by the company so that no
Correct.
person here
the
could
town clerk sends it in to
either
the
mess it
state,
up
and
by
the
not doing it
state
right,
sends it.
or we don't like to think this, but someone couldn't also mess with it for their own nefarious means because
Correct.
it's not in your hands.
The
Got
state has sent them the format.
Got it.
Yeah.
So you send those things in, they send you new ones.
Well, they just reprogram our current cards.
Mhm. So,
So-
it's just them doing it is the real thing.
It's-
with the,
yeah, it's
the
like a
card.
coding,
It's
yeah.
taking it out of your hands and being like, stick that in. It's the right one for this particular
Mhm.
setup.
hmm
Wow. All right. Yeah. Oh, there's one other thing I've always been curious about. What do you think about the idea of Election Day being a national holiday, where everyone gets the day off to go vote?
Except us.
Well, except for you, yes. Yeah, it's like being Santa on Christmas. It comes with the territory. But
Yeah.
what do you think? Would that make it easier?
I wouldn't be opposed.
Yeah.
We do
Yeah.
hear from a lot of parents when election day is off about childcare issues. We don't hear it. We
yeah.
hear it from other people.
Right.
But childcare issues and stuff
Mhm.
because it's a Tuesday.
It's a weekday. A lot of people got to go to work.
Mhm.
They got to get the kid to school.
Mhm.
Are the schools where you hold stuff? Are they
They're
open that
always
day?
closed.
They're closed for that
The
day.
superintendent
In North
chooses
Haven, they're
to.
always closed. Yeah.
So childcare might be even more of a concern for some people that day because the kids are home from school.
Well, in November, I think
Yeah.
most people, because they've always been closed.
Yeah,
They're planned.
they know it's
planned
coming.
for
It's
it.
kind of
yeah.
just the way things are done.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're there. You see when people are voting. When the problems are. Is there definitely, because of people having to go to work? Is there, is 7, 6? When do you open in the morning?
6 a.m.
So is 6 to before 9 when some people have to go to work? Is that
With a big rush
jammed?
in there. Yep.
And then after work, and
I would say
is there a
after
lunch
3.
rush
After 3.
after 3?
Schools
So-
get out, or something gets out at 3.
Yeah.
Not schools.
So
'cause they're
if
closed.
if there was a holiday, theoretically at least, it might kind of spread that out a little bit, so people weren't trying to jam it in before or after.
Who
It's
knows?
hard
Maybe.
to say.
Hard to say. Yeah.
I mean, we're theorizing that's the way that it would work, but we say to our poll workers, we can't control when people come in.
People are going to show up when they're going to show up.
People are going to show up when they show up.
But currently, there is definitely a before work in the
Before
morning
work and then
rush and
after
then
work.
after work kind
Yes.
of rush. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I don't know. And something that's being talked about out there. So I guess we'll see if it ever happens. Luckily for me in New Haven, I have my polling location I can see it from my second floor window on a good day.
Wow.
So I am. I'm lucky. They do a good job here in New Haven as well.
That is great.
Registrars of voters all over the state doing good stuff. Well, I'd like to thank you guys for being here today.
Thanks for having us.
The Municipal Voice is a co-production by CCM and WNHH 103.5 FM. Kevin Maloney is our executive producer. Christopher Gilson is our producer. Harry Draws is on the boards. And I'm Matt Ford, your host. Be sure to check out our Facebook page and give us a like, and watch out for our CCM Chat series on our YouTube page. Just search for CCM Chats and you'll find them all in one convenient playlist. Thanks again, guys.